Drivers, start your engines!
Field roars to life as we get set to roll here in Calder Park. 167 lapper here tonight, 42 car field in tonight's races. It'll be the two Hendrick teammates, Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon, to lead us off into the Australia night here today. Always a tight racetrack here in Calder Park. Hard to make passes at this facility. Lap time up last year quite a significant amount, what with the new paved surface here, resurfaced after 2007. Only racing the oval here in Calder Park today as Motegi makes its return to the Cup Series next weekend in Japan. But it's going to be a fun one tonight as it is now 5 races into the season and 5 unique winners in the points-paying events so far.
And this racetrack, despite being newly repaved, we're going to see throughout the course of the years going around here, because of its location and how humid and hot it gets here, this track is going to deteriorate surface-wise more than ever. So every year they come here, it's going to be a little bit different. So you can't take a whole lot that you took from last year into this one. It's going to be fun to see how these drivers tackle it today.
Not only that, but the temperatures are going to wear out your tires, and you're going to see a lot of that here tonight. Johnson and Gordon, the front row, were green here from Calder Park as the 48 leads us to turn number 1. Three wide already is the Calder Park King, Robbie Gordon, down on the inside trying to make up some spots off the start. You're seeing how much time being side-by-side loves to cost you at this racing facility on just the opening lap, as Gordon a long way off of the top 2 following the opening start of this race. Kennington and Johnson, the top 2 away from the green, then the 13, the 01, and A.J. Allmendinger clear of Jeff Gordon around the outside to hold on to a top 5 running position in 5th.
And it was a really good qualifying effort from that 83 team, who has started off maybe a little slower than they would have liked, but with a young driver you kind of expect that. And we've seen these flashes of speed out of AJ over the course of not only his Cup Series run but the AT&T run as well. This is the driver that really likes this kind of racetrack where you just kind of have to hit your marks over and over and over again. It really fits his background as a road course guy. I think this track kind of does play into that.
He's got a good running spot in 5th. Looked a little bit more like the version of him we saw in the Grand National Series the last couple of weekends, and he's got some speed early in the running as Jimmy Johnson side-by-side for the race lead. We've got a couple of cars on pit road with damage as we take a look back here at what might have happened to Scott Riggs and company, looking like it was 3 wide off into turn 1. And maybe a little bit of help with him and Elliott Sadler. Yes, 8 car got the outside wall. They managed to hold on to it, but damage to the 8 and the 57. No caution, and these 2 cars forced to bring it to pit road within the first 5 laps of the race as we are side-by-side for the race lead.
Kennington has been so good so early in this season. Our points leader looking for the lead, but if you look behind, you'll see the guy who has dominated this racetrack time and time again. Robbie Gordon has already caught these guys and brought Kurt Busch with him.
Tight mix for the lead there. Kennington fended off by Johnson on the outside in the 48. Puts Kennington in the clutches of Robbie Gordon for the runner-up spot. Kurt Busch in the 01, who has also been off to a screamer of a start in 2009. He's right behind as the 57, leaving pit road with our leaders there down the back straightaway. Gets back on the track after getting some repairs. On the right side of his 57, ends up with Kurt Busch on his outside. 5 laps completed, now 6 laps completed as we duel for the second position. You're seeing this single file. It's always been a 1-lane track here in Calder Park, so going to see some struggles to make some overtakes here. That is to be expected at this facility. Track position is going to be at a premium here tonight. But mistakes are going to be what give you spots here tonight, and Robbie Gordon hoping Kennington makes one in front of him. He's been hounding that back bumper for a couple of laps now.
Really, you're just trying to work him over and to get him to make a mistake and push him up the racetrack to get by him. That's really your only opportunity. We see Kurt Busch is still not able to get out of that outside lane, and he's continuing to fall back as he does get down in front of Jeff Gordon, but does lose a spot to Allmendinger, who is stuck behind the lap car, the 57 right now, but I would be interested to see if he can get up in this battle for the lead, but right now, it's all the 48, 81, and 13.
57's also on some fresher tires after making that pit stop there, but Allmendinger not going to worry about that. He goes to the inside of the 57 to try and get around him, get some clean air up to the leaders. And 3 and 4, that's the passing spot on this racetrack, and he's going to make it work without issue. Kurt Busch following through in that top 5 position, still 5th. Jeff Gordon 6th, Biffle in 7th, 8th belonging to Kane, and 9th, Robbie Gordon's teammate Shane Meal into the top 10 in the number 47. Battle further back for the 10th spot as Tony Stewart looking to join his teammate in the top 10, and Joey Logano in the 7, who had such a great qualifying and a good run leading laps under green flag back at Rockingham, the racetrack that draws a lot of comparisons to this facility. So another racetrack that kind of seems to be in his wheelhouse, running well again here in this Germain 7 here tonight. Got a pretty good race car underneath of him, and despite the fact that he's dropped out of the top 10 now, still looking like he's got some speed and hanging with these guys as Kurt Busch once again stuck on the outside in the 01.
And Logano also the winner of the Grand National race at this racetrack, beating Robbie Gordon to do it. I mean, a very impressive victory for him, who has started off this year really hot, Joey Logano. I think, you know, it hasn't been all high points, but the speed has definitely been there for Joey this year, and I'm a little surprised after the ending of last season that he had, where he was just struggling to get the finishes. Looks like the momentum is back.
Yeah, it really helps him out, and it's been going very well for him on the Cup Series side, especially in that 7 car as Kane and Kurt Busch battle for the 7th spot. Up the road from him, Tony Stewart, underneath of Shane Meals, number 47 behind that. You're seeing there the outside working pretty well in turns 1 and 2, as it usually does at this racetrack. As we mentioned, 3 and 4 tends to be the passing spot at this racetrack. Top 3 have remained unchanged, but have stayed a long way in front of AJ Allmendinger's number 83, Jeff Gordon in the 24, a spot behind that in 5th. Not a lot of lap time drop off from this top group just yet, about 4/10, just shy of 15 laps completed here in Calder Park. Again, Robbie Gordon really hounding the back bumper of DJ Kennington for the 2nd spot, but just has not quite been able to pull anything off just yet. As you mentioned, it is really, really tough to make overtakes at this racetrack. You got to be on that inside line. There's not really anywhere else that there's a lot of grip to work with, at least when you're single file. Of course, at outside, you can really squeeze these guys down coming off of turn 2 to keep the run and defend your position, but turns 3 and 4 tends to be the spot that the inside is a little better when you're side by side. But Robbie Gordon unable to set up a pass on DJ Kennington yet, and of course Kennington got underneath of Jimmy Johnson for the lead early in the going, but was unable to complete that overtake for the top spot, so he remains behind in the 2nd spot still, though, but still just hounding the back bumper of that 48. These guys so close on speed right now. But again, a good drive by Johnson out of 2 to keep Kennington at bay for the lead.
These 3 just really sitting in their own little group here at the front of the field. Nobody really being able to gain in on these guys. I think throughout the first run of this race, it's obviously these 3 look to be the fastest, but you know, at a racetrack like this where the tires fall off as much as they do, it really does open the door for whenever these guys finally do come down and pit. You can do a lot of things with your race car to get it to turn better, to get it to have more short run speed, more long run speed. So I expect to see maybe some comers and goers today, seeing some certain guys be better on certain runs than others.
Yeah, and this is one of those racetracks where these pit crew guys are going to make the money, because at this racing facility, as you mentioned, not only just the aspect of car adjustment, getting your car dialed in at a racetrack that's so fast and so narrow, you need such a good setup to get around here quickly. But on top of that, you're going to need to have some quick pit stops, maybe play around with the strategy a little bit, try and undercut The undercut is especially strong at this racetrack. We saw that in the Grand National race. A lot of guys taking advantage of hitting a little bit earlier under green, making up some spots. So that's where these guys are going to try to make some overtakes, maybe try to get some fresher tires earlier, or maybe work the long run a little bit. We saw a lot of that last year at this facility as well. So would not be surprised to see any one of these top three try to undercut and take advantage of the fresher tires and make up some spots on the guys that are racing for position. But Robbie Gordon in the 13 underneath of DJ Kennington for the second spot behind Johnson. Looking to try and make quick work of this 81, but Kennington hanging tough around the outside down the front stretch. But this time into turn one, trying to drive it down on the bottom. Kennington trying to hang tough around the top. Can't quite do it. Robbie Gordon into the second spot in the 13.
Kennington's still trying to get out to the outside of him, but he is going to drop behind. Robbie Gordon to P2. And that battle did help Johnson pull away just slightly, but I do expect that gap to shrink back up with the draft here. And these guys are just gone for the rest of the field.
Absolutely massive margin back to Allmendinger, who sits in fourth. Behind him is now Biffle, and the 01 of Kurt Busch as Jeff Gordon gets passed for a couple of spots. Tony Stewart in the 42. Would like to mention him, who's been making a lot of headway so far, and he's been running a little bit of a different line. You see it right there, running maybe a shade up off of the yellow line on the bottom, just trying to find some grip. As we mentioned, when you're by yourself at this racetrack, you want to be on the inside line, but Stewart is trying to say a little bit of not so fast here. Always loves to prove us wrong up here in the commentary booth, and has, of course, made up a lot more spots than really anybody else on the track since the drop of the green. Saw him get past Kane without much trouble, and now closing in on the rest of these guys for potentially a top 5 running spot early in the going here tonight.
Ganassi Dodges, or the Ganassi Ford's definitely looking good today. Unfortunately for Ganassi, one of their cars missed the show today. Jamie McMurray did not qualify into this event. It's a bit of a shock to everybody in the garage area, but the other two cars looking pretty stout today up in the top 10.
Yeah, just once again, that mutual success agreement that the 42 and the 01 must have, running in the top 10 together pretty much every single time they run well. No stranger to being together, and once again find themselves towards the top of the table here tonight. 6th place and 8th place are the 01 and the 42, respectively. 25 laps completed in Calder Park as Robbie Gordon knocking on the door for the race lead. If you were to win it tonight, would be the first driver in the Cup Series this season to repeat wins. But still very, very, very early in the going here, of course. Shy of 30 laps completed in a race that's nearly 170, so a lot of racing left to go. Be 140 laps to go when we hit the line next time by. Johnson's number 48 has led every lap so far here from Calder Park, continues to sit comfortably in the lead, but not as comfortable as he was earlier now that he's got Gordon's number 13 right up the rear bumper, and DJ Kennington in the 81 is going to challenge Robbie Gordon for the second spot, not going to let him take a run at the lead. Side by side for P2, and DJ Kennington doing an even better job than Robbie did to pass him, gets him right back, didn't even lose any time to the 48, and he's back into the runner-up spot in the 81.
Yeah, and the reason that happened is because Kennington ran just a little bit higher up in 3 and 4. It forced the 13 to a lane with a lot less grip. And so Kennington was able to turn down the racetrack and just take that position. That was textbook. Very well done by the 81.
Set him up beautifully out of turn 2 as well to get that run down the back straightaway when Robbie Gordon himself had a run on Johnson. Was just a fantastic exit to turn 2, and he once again retakes that runner-up spot. We take a look at the gap back between the top 3 and the rest of the field. Over 2 seconds separate 4th place from 3rd place now, and you're seeing AJ Allmendinger under pressure, and now side by side for the 4th spot with Greg Biffle's number 16. A really good drive there on the outside by Allmendinger, trying to use a lot of the racetrack to hang tough with this Ford on the inside. Biffle with the spot at the line, stays side by side going in to turn 1, but Biffle passed. Kurt Busch trying to do the same, and he will. An easy move there by the 01, and Allmendinger out of nowhere getting freight trained on the outside now, down the backstretch and into turn 3. Stewart and Kane going to follow on the inside as well.
Yeah, unfortunately for AJ, that's the risk that you run here, if you get past and you're in a bit of a train like this, you're going to fall all the way to the back of it. And it looks like this 83 is going to fall behind the 12 of Kane and sit at the back end of the top 10.
And although I'm not surprised to see this with the 83, despite the fact that he's definitely had some pretty good speed in this 83 car, might have burned up his stuff a little bit on the early run. We saw him cutting through the field on the opening laps and looking like he had a lot of pace early, but just using a little bit too much of his rubber here in Calder Park. Drops all the way back behind Kane into ninth. Greg Biffle into fourth. Kurt Busch regains a top 5 spot. He's in fifth. Jeff Gordon sixth. Tony Stewart in seventh in the 42 as we continue to run over 30 laps down now here in Calder Park for the leaders. Kennington still knocking on the door of Johnson for the lead, but this 48 still led every lap so far and controlling this race early in the going here tonight. Kennington trying to find a way to set up Johnson down the backstretch for the lead, but just a smidge of a better exit by the 48 there in the lead. And Kurt Busch, engine trouble for the 01, and he is going to be in early retirement from the race. Such a good season so far. Little bit of bad fortune last weekend. This time it goes up in smoke, and his first DNF of the season comes in Calder Park. And that is a big engine failure from the top 5 for Kurt Busch.
And man, the engine gremlins for Ganassi appear to carry over to a new manufacturer. This 01 of Kurt Busch down pit road with an engine failure early on. What a disaster.
At the point in the season in which you can make up for it, but that's a lot of points left on the table for an 01 car that had a lot of speed here tonight. Rough one gone or worse for Ganassi, as now a last place finish on top of their D&Q for McMurray. Jimmy Johnson, 48 car, leads the field down pit road on lap number 36. Everybody coming in for 4 tires and fuel. Johnson in at the end of pit road. See if anybody can try to leapfrog this 48 in the pits. Kennington from second, off the jack and away, but Johnson going to hold the pit lane, or hold the lead off of the pit lane, I should say, easily. Top 3 remain unchanged. Greg Biffle in fourth, and Casey Kane, a good pit stop, into fifth. Stephen Light running well once again here in Calder Park. Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car, winner off of pit road. We're going to take you to intermission. It's NASCAR and ESPN here from Oz, and we'll be right back. Back from intermission here in Calder Park as we get set to go green this time by. Jimmy Johnson in the number 48 is your leader. He's led every lap so far from the pole, but not without a challenge. DJ Kennington and Robbie Gordon second and third, with some great Chevrolet Impalas underneath them as well. Greg Biffle in fourth, the only non-GM car in the top five. Great 16 car here today, looking like he's got some speed for the first time in quite a while, running up in the top five comfortably early in the going. And Casey Kane in the 12 sits in the fifth position. Just a lightning start to this 2009 season for Kane. We've seen a version of Casey Kane in this season that we kind of haven't in a little while, and it's always nice to see some speed out of him. Cup Series is better when that 12 car is fast. Pace car going to peel off here on lap number 39 when we take this restart. Johnson the leader, taking the field out of turn 4 here, waiting for the signal, and green flag flies. Back underway, DJ Kennington, not a good start in the 81 from the second position. To his outside goes Robbie Gordon. Greg Biffle's going to duck to the inside as we go side by side, off into turn number 1. Robbie Gordon pinned in a bad spot, but trying to fight around that outside lane, kept it out of the wall. Side by side for third, top 2 pull away as Greg Biffle tries to take over the third spot. Casey Kane up his rear bumper behind that.
We see Elliott Sadler now up here after hitting the wall earlier in the race. The 8 car is up in the pack here.
Got some good speed after the repairs, of course, a couple of laps down. Needs some cautions to get back in this race, but with some speed, Kane unable to get past Robbie Gordon, but Greg Biffle does. Tony Stewart's number 42 is stuck on the outside. Todd Cleaver, who started this race in a good qualifying position, trying to make some headway since the race start after falling backwards when we went green. Carl Edwards in the number 19 is into the top 10 as well, just in front of Jeff Gordon as he's side by side with Stephen Light's number 18 for 11th.
Yeah, Light started 6th on that restart, got pinned on the high side, and that's just how the cookie crumbled for him as he's going to continue to fall back, just unable to find a spot. He might be able to get in behind Montoya.
Trying to hold on to a top 15.
Start to this run.
Yeah, absolutely. Really rough go-around for him on the restart. Now Rogelio Lopez in the 99 underneath of him. Light trying to clear him off into turn number 3 this time, but just not able to do it. Kenseth as well, looking to get underneath. Boyer in the 4, who also was stuck on the outside, found his way back down to the inside as the 18 continues to fall backwards. Stewart stuck on the outside. Carl Edwards in the 19, as we mentioned, making some headway here on this restart. Now into 9th. Jeff Gordon follows him into the top 10 once more in the 24 after a bit of a slower start. Top 2 a little bit in front of Greg Biffle in the 16 as he took a lot of time fighting with Robbie Gordon for the third spot off the restart. Gordon putting some pressure on this 16. 48, 81, and the 13 have really kind of been in a class of their own to start this race. Biffle trying to challenge that status. Definitely has some speed, but Robbie Gordon still sitting on the back bumper. Not quite able to make a move to retake P3 just yet. Still Kennington putting the pressure on Jimmy Johnson for the lead up in front of them. Kennington and Johnson, 2 juggernauts at the top of the table. Kennington again trying to take a look, but doesn't have that run down the back stretch. Still putting the pressure on. Kane in the 5th spot, slowly closing in on the 13 and 16 for the 3rd position. Allmendinger with some speed behind that in 6th. Again, got some good short run underneath that 83 car. Behind that, Joey Logano, good restart in 7th. Cleaver into 8th. Edwards still 9th, and Gordon still 10th. To round out your top 10, Allmendinger looking to move past Kane back into the top 5, while Robbie Gordon gets underneath of Greg Biffle for 3rd.
Greg Biffle ran really high there, trying to get some momentum, and he is going to stay alongside of the 13 of Robbie Gordon. I do expect the 13 to grab this position here, but man, I mean, look how high Biffle's trying to run.
And just a fabulous 1 and 2 by Robbie Gordon to leave the 16 in the dust. Meanwhile, up the road, second time that DJ Kennington has found a way underneath of Jimmy Johnson for the lead. Here in this race, dead heat at the line. Johnson still narrowly holding on to the lead down the front stretch, this time into 1. Kennington trying to drive it down on the bottom. This is where we saw Johnson power by on the outside, but not this time. New leader, DJ Kennington, makes the first lead change of the night.
And with that pass, look who has driven back up into this pack. Robbie Gordon, who is so good at this racetrack. Was a little bit off before, but with that battle, is right in the mix. And that is why it's so important to clear guys when you can, because if he was still battling that 16 of Biffle, he couldn't take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely not. It was a great time move for Robbie Gordon, and he's going to take it immediately underneath the 48 for the second position. These two have history at this very racetrack. Last year, we saw them get into each other for the win. This time, Robbie Gordon underneath the 48. Trying to take over that second spot, and will. Now sets his sights on DJ Kennington for the race lead.
And Greg Biffle kind of lurking behind these guys. He's in the battle now. But Robbie Gordon just looking so fast right now.
Rides right back up on DJ Kennington for the top spot. See if he can set him up coming out of turn 2 this time. Not quite. Kennington just a little bit higher to get that run down the back straightaway, fend him off. He knows that's what he's got to do. Just park the bus and drive off of the corners a little bit better than a 13. But for how long can he do that? Gordon, again, a good exit out of 4 to run up to the back bumper. We haven't seen anybody really be able to make moves to the bottom for any position on the racetrack into turn 1. What with the shallow entry those guys take into that corner. Robbie Gordon down on his back bumper out of 2. No move just yet. Johnson a little bit further back off of that. Biffle lurking in 4th. AJ Allmendinger comfortably in front of the rest of these guys for the 5th position as Todd Cleaver continues his charge up the order. What an impressive run by this 98 car into the 6th spot now in front of Carl Edwards, who's 7th.
I mean, really, what an impressive season for this 98 of Todd Cleaver, who has had a lot more speed than they had last year. They had flashes, but this year it really seems like they're putting it all together to be consistently quick. Even if they don't get the finishes to show for it, they've been quick every week.
Edwards in the 19 right behind that, trying to make a move to the inside of the 98, but doesn't quite have the room to do it unless he does. They get into each other a little bit. Edwards with the bumper to the back of the 98. Cleaver hangs on. Great save by those two. Edwards getting a little antsy for the 6th spot.
I mentioned another Penske car sitting in the top 10. Ricky Hendrick having a good run today.
Definitely something that he needs, as that 02 now the best running Penske car in the race right now as he gets past his teammate for a top 10 spot. Would love to put a good finish together after a real slow start to this 2009 season. Montoya's number 31 has slowly climbed his way up the order, been keeping an eye on him over the course of this race and finds his way into the top 10. Logano still an impressive run in 8th. Johnson got back past Kennington for 2nd a couple of laps ago. Puts him in the rearview mirror of Robbie Gordon. This is the order we saw them in last year when Jimmy Johnson put the bumper to the back of the 13 of Robbie Gordon for the lead and eventually the win in the 2008 edition of this race. And once again, these two find themselves 1st and 2nd here in Calder Park.
And one thing that we've learned about these guys, while they are competitors, they're not exactly friends. They have a lot of history together, racing aggressively, not only for the win, but throughout positions in the top 10. They've been contenders for championships together. These two want to beat each other more than anybody else in the field. And so when they race each other for the win, a lot of times that shows. It's a great show for us fans, but it's got to be frustrating for both of those guys.
Yeah, and we've harped this point home time and time again since Jimmy Johnson's Cup Series debut full-time in the 2002 season. These two drivers have won more Cup races than anybody else in the garage since then. So competitive, and they find themselves on the racetrack more often than not because they are so fast, just the cream of the crop in this field. And again, it's at this racetrack that we saw them have that run in last year. This rivalry really kicked off there. They've been into each other quite a lot over the course of their careers. We saw it at Nashville last year when they made a lot of contact and Jimmy Johnson ended up out of that race. As you mentioned, these two do not like each other at all. Kennington in the 81 with a run out of turn 2, up to the back bumper of Jimmy Johnson for second. Not quite able to get back underneath of him to fight for that spot, but he's giving him a look, filling that mirror. Biffle again lurking in the 16 car, has had some speed, maybe not quite as much pace as the rest of this top 3, but has definitely had the speed to challenge them and show his presence. A lot of race left for that 16 team to dial him in and work on that race car as the temperature cools over the course of this race. And closing in as Johnson holds this 81 up just a little bit for that second spot. Another good exit by Johnson to keep Kennington at bay for the runner-up spot down the back stretch. Still, A.J. Allmendinger finding himself in no man's land in that 83, looking a lot better on the long run this time than he did on the first cycle. Had some traffic to get through on the restart to get back into the top 5, but he's got himself a pretty good race car right now, and if a couple things swing his way, maybe some good pit stops, some good strategy, a couple cautions here or there, could find himself back in a pretty good spot for the race win here. Of course, early going and still over 100 laps left here in Calder Park. But I really like what I'm seeing out of this 83 car right now.
And up in that lead, Robbie Gordon, again, so good at this racetrack, but it is worth mentioning, really for the first time before this season, when he joined Valve, when he joined the whole GIN innovative operation, he said, as much as I love winning, I feel like I have to cherish them more than ever because I am 40 now. And drivers tend to slow down about that age, and I know I'm still at the top of my game, but you never know when the last win can be your last. So this 13 of Robbie Gordon, well, we believe, you know, he has plenty of good years left. When you get up in your 40s, I feel like every time you get behind the wheel, you got to race like it's your last race.
Yeah, and he's not a driver you'd usually think of being up there in age and considering retirement in any sort of degree, of course, given that he's only really had his competitive prime years in the Cup Series for the last 4 or 5 seasons, dating back to about the 2002 season-ish. It was about 2004 or so when he really started rattling off wins in Cup. So it hasn't been all that long at the very top of the table for the 2006 champion, but this is a veteran presence here in this team, and it's really a humble moment for a driver that we've seen as a hothead for so many years to kind of consider the fact that, you know, I'm getting up there in age. You start thinking about when the end of this career comes, but as you mentioned, there's probably still quite a lot of competitive years left for him, and making this move over to Valvoline again to bring that veteran presence to kind of give some advice to another young driver that I feel like Shane Meal kind of reminds us of Robbie Gordon and the earlier winning years in his career, coming over to this team up in Cup, and both of these cars have been so competitive, and to see that 47 really kind of kick off into his own. This is a competitive team, and Robbie Gordon has still got a lot of fuel left in the tank and maybe a chance to contend for a championship or two yet.
Yeah, definitely a lot of years left, but it was good to hear that perspective from the 13 because I feel like in recent years, a lot of drivers have kind of retired on a whimper rather than a bang. And Robbie's not done yet. He's still got, 5 or 6 years left, most likely. But, whenever he's done, I think he has it set in his mind. I'm going to go out on my own terms, and I'm going to go out when I'm still winning races, and I'm going to go out as a guy that contended to the very end.
One of the most respected drivers in the Cup Series, whether you like him or not. Lap number 70 here from Calder Park. Robbie Gordon's number 13, comfortably in the lead here at a racetrack that he adores. It's the Cashies 600K here from NASCAR on ESPN. We're going to shut your traps and listen to some engines and nothing more here from Calder Park in Melbourne. That was the McDonald's visor cam on board Carl Edwards in the 19 team. Something a little different, a chaotic pit road here tonight in Calder Park as our first green flag pit stops of the race take place here in Melbourne. Jimmy Johnson in the number 48 car back onto the racetrack. You saw Robbie Gordon on pit road as well. As we get back underway, and not looking like it was the kind of pit stop that Jimmy Johnson was looking for there, as he is a long way off of our leaders there. A lot of holdout. We saw the traffic there. Carl Edwards, a really close run-in with him leaving pit road. DJ Kennington, the 81, as well. And Johnson finds his way back down the order. Meanwhile, Greg Biffle in the 16 ends up on the right end of history coming out of the pits as he is hounding Robbie Gordon in the 13 for the net race lead. 16 leapfrogs, quite a lot of cars on pit road. DJ Kennington didn't quite get a great pit stop there. AJ Allmendinger did, but he was already quite a ways off of the leaders. Battle for the 5th spot between Juan Pablo Montoya and hometown Marcos Ambrose racing back in his home country here tonight. Been a bit of a rough start to the season for Marcos Ambrose and this 5 team, a team that had a lot of expectations coming into this year, what with Marcos and the success he had in the 13 car that is now leading this race. Has been a mixture of a lack of pace and bad luck when he has had speed over the course of this year. So trying to get back on the right foot here in front of the home crowd, and it's turning into a pretty good race for this 5 team as they find their way into the top 5 for the first time here tonight.
And I think, for a new driver, or not necessarily a new driver, but a driver joining a new team, I think there's always expected to be some growing pains, and I think Robbie Gordon has been a bit of the exception, just being the veteran presence and having all the experience that he does. But for Marcos moving over to a new organization, I'm definitely not surprised to see them struggling a little bit. I think in time that will get better, but right now just trying to find their footing, get everybody to gel together, and find the best ways to make pace throughout the season.
Got a good race car underneath of him in 5th right now, fighting with Montoya for that top 5 spot. Top 2 still pretty close here as Biffle, as we mentioned, trying to go the right way on the adjustments over the course of this race. And again, a great pit stop for that 16 team to hang tight with Robbie Gordon here at his racetrack. And lap traffic begins to loom for the leaders. Got Travis Quapple, the 49, is the first car up the road for Robbie Gordon. Not a terribly long way in front of him. But Gordon comfortable and in his element here tonight. 80 laps completed, nearing the halfway mark here from the Cashies 600K. And he is just in control of this race here tonight. Of course, not the pit stop that Johnson and the 48 team wanted there. Got held in pit road with all the traffic. It was a busy, busy pit lane there on that last cycle. So Johnson ended up on the wrong foot, falling back out of the top 5 and out of contention for the lead, but showing just the otherworldly pace that these top 3 or 4 have had over the course of this event, and immediately catches and passes his teammate. Did not even break a sweat to get into the 6th position. Montoya just back past the 5 a couple of laps ago, right up the way for him. And this is a 48 car that is hungry after narrowly missing out on a couple of wins this year, trying to find his way to victory lane for the first time early in the 2009 season. He's got the car to do it, but might need some help here tonight after that real rough trip to pit road that last time. Up the back bumper of Montoya, but going to give him just a little bit more patience than he did his teammate there. Not quite as big of a run coming out of turn 2 that he had on the 5. Stays put in 6 for the moment as Robbie Gordon starting to pull away from Greg Biffle just a little bit. And that gap's starting to open up for this Valvoline Chevrolet that is cruising in the lead now. Kevin Harvick in the 20. One of the new entrants to the top 10 after that pit cycle, sits in 9th in front of the 24. Jeff Gordon, your defending Cup champion, who has had himself a quiet but solid day in the 24. Kevin Harvick, a solid start to the season, inside the top 15 in points. Gibbs as a whole just looking so strong after a lot of question marks surrounding them, the merger with Haas coming into this year, and what might be to come for them. Edwards in the 19, of course, having himself a pretty solid race here in Calder Park as well, in the 11th spot. 12th, Ricky Hendrick, who has continued to have a pretty good day in that 02 car. Clint Boyer in the 4. Another silent but good race for him. He's 13th. 14th is Kyle Busch, and Casey Mears in the 28, who has had a pretty solid start to this season for Yates in that 28 car. Of course, a very talented driver, grabbing his first career win at Chicagoland last year for Roush, and that 99 team that trails him by 2 positions. Once again, finds himself into the top 15. Scott Wimmer, a good recovery in the 16th spot as well. Johnson underneath of Montoya into turn 1 and past the 31 back into the top 5. Got a lot of headway to make up. But Robbie Gordon has just checked out on the 16 of Biffle over these last handful of laps. I think the 16 went for the undercut there on that pit cycle, and Robbie Gordon going a little bit longer, it's paying dividends for him, and he has opened up that gap to almost 2 seconds in less than 10 laps over that 16 car.
I feel like I'm not surprised to see it. Robbie Gordon running up front at this racetrack, but it is surprising, however, just how often he's able to do it here. He's ever since this track has joined the calendar, Robbie has an average finish of like 1.2. It is incredible how fast that he's been at this racetrack and how much it fits his driving style. And no matter what, repave or not, it doesn't matter. He's just the best driver here, no question.
Yeah, he just has an intrinsic understanding of this racing facility that nobody else on the grid does. There is a reason that he won, 4 races straight at this facility when it first opened up to NASCAR competition in the Cup Series, and not to mention the Grand National races that he won consecutively as well. So just has been so much better than everybody else at this racetrack, and finished second in the only 2 Cup races that he did not win at this facility in 2008 last year, and right back to his leading ways here at this racetrack once again. Just laying it out on the field here tonight. And he has got a massive lead now in Greg Biffle as the 16 works over Travis Kvapil, the lap car, in 39th. Just in control is Robbie Gordon, and a lot of laps left for things to go wrong, but he's got himself a comfortable lead, and now Biffle underneath the 49 past him. Kennington 3rd, Allmendinger in 4th, and Jimmy Johnson closing in to put the pressure on the 83 for that 4th position as he continues to try and mount his comeback run over the course of this green flag run here tonight. Battle for the 8th position further behind as Jeff Gordon puts some pressure on Todd Cleaver for that position. Just got past Kevin Harvick in the 20 a couple of laps ago. These 3 under a blanket for P8. It is 8th, 9th, and 10th. So Carl Edwards behind that, then the 02 and the 4, 12th and 13th as they have remained for a while. Jimmy Johnson under A.J. Allmendinger in turns 1 and 2. That last time passed. And into the 4th position now goes Jimmy Johnson as he looks to try and run down DJ Kennington for 3rd. Over a 3-second margin for the race lead Robbie Gordon has behind him to Biffle in the 16. 70 laps remaining is the count that last time by here in Calder Park. And it is turned into a session of dominance here for the 13 team. Lapping the 10 of JJ Yaley, that's the 06 of Mark Martin up in front of him after that. We cut Mark Martin's 06 car some slack in 1 and 2 there, and pulling back down to the inside, down the back straightaway to put another car a lap down. A lot of racing left to go, and now traffic for the 13 team, but not a worry for Robbie Gordon at all. Now nearly 4 seconds between him and the 16 of Greg Biffle. He is laying down a lap time versus that 16 on this run. Nearly 7 seconds back to DJ Kennington, who's in 4th, as Johnson tries to run him down for that position. The 48 car is really the only car on this racetrack that is matching the 13's lap times right now. Of course, Biffle, with the undercut on some older tires, is losing quite a lot of lap time to the 13. And Robbie Gordon is starting to put a lot of lap traffic between him and the rest of the field, so even if we were to get a yellow flag, would have a bit of a buffer to the rest of the top 5. That is Daniel Ricciardo's number 37, making his Cup Series debut in front of the home crowd here tonight. Swung a deal with his parent team, Red Bull, and Brad Daugherty's team, who are running the opening third of this season full-time now after a hot start for David Reagan and that 37 operation. And Daniel Ricciardo qualifies that car in for another race in a row for them. Shane Meal, the 47, who had a real rough time on pit road, and since the restart quite a while ago, finding himself about to be lapped by his teammate. A lot of traffic for the 13. Cutting his teammate Shane some slack here. Got a lot of race left to work with, but JJ Yaley is going to try and put the 13 on the outside. Gordon running into a little bit of trouble thanks to the traffic. He's probably thanking his lucky stars that he's got such a gap to work with back to second place, and knowing Robbie Gordon, doubt he's very happy with being raced so hard by Yaley. And there you see, driving around the outside, stays clear of the 10.
Really, it's the same guys we've been talking about all day up front in this pack. 81, 48, now 16 has done some successful adjustments, and now up in second place, but nobody's able to touch Robbie Gordon today.
Now lapping his teammate Shane Meal, got to the inside this time down the back straightaway, as it'll be 60 laps to go in a couple of times. Shane Meal with a good day gone rough towards the end of this show. TJ Bell's number 77 on the outside of Robbie Gordon.
You see now lap fall off of 2.5 seconds, so likely going to see some pit stops fairly soon, which will probably be the last of the race.
I'd like to take a look back as
car blowing up.
That is the 36 of Reed Sorensen, who just got lapped, finds himself stuck in no man's land, and will finally get back down to the bottom as Greg Biffle goes around the outside. Caution flag will fly as Reed Sorensen with engine trouble from the back of the field. And Robbie Gordon's gap will be erased. Second caution of the night. Lucky dog will go to TJ Bell in the 77. As his gap erased, though should have some lap car buffers here. Lap number 108 from Calder Park for the race leader, Robbie Gordon. Johnson just got past Kennington for third, so that 48 car that's had so much speed tonight, trying to find his way back towards our race leader, Robbie Gordon.
And for Robbie, I don't think this is a bad scenario, because you come down pit road first and you're probably not going to be in that gaggle of cars pitting. We saw for Jimmy Johnson, he got stuck and held on pit road from the lead, so definitely was a possibility for Robbie Gordon, but now coming down under a caution with everybody, probably not going to have the same issue. Though we'll see.
4 tires and fuel for the 13 team as Robbie Gordon off the jack and away. Clean pit stop for the 13 team, so he will comfortably hold the lead leaving pit road here. Just a couple of lap cars between himself and Jimmy Johnson's number 48 leaving pit road. Lap 109 for Robbie Gordon and the 13 team. We're going to take you to intermission. It's NASCAR on ESPN here from Calder Park. Cashies 600K. You won't miss a thing. We'll be right back here from Oz. Back from intermission here at Calder Park as we get set to go green. Robbie Gordon's number 13, your race leader. Comfortably so on that last run, but don't look now. Jimmy Johnson in the 48 with a great pit stop. Gets in front of some of the lap traffic, and will be restarting just an extra car behind the 13 here and had a lot of speed on that last run, so we'll see if he can try to get back up front and challenge him. Third place is still DJ Kennington, fourth belonging to AJ Allmendinger. And a good pit stop for Montoya in the 31 puts him in the top 5 as Greg Biffle's 16. Not a good pit stop for him as he drops out. It'll be lap number 112 when we go green this time by.
It's going to be really important for Johnson to not get too hasty and take it to the outside of this 10 of Yaley, because that's how he's going to go backwards. Just got to be patient here. And he immediately goes to the outside.
He does not want to be patient, trying to get around that 10. Got a lot of lap traffic to work with. Ricardo's number 37. Allmendinger also ended up on the outside there. Side by side now with Travis Quapple's number 49. The 31 ends up on the top as well. And here comes the freight train and DJ Kennington taking it 3 wide on the bottom. Beautiful move for the 81 to try to take advantage. Johnson trying to stay clear on the outside into 1. Can't do it. Kennington side by side with him for the second spot. Trying to drive away on that bottom. Still side by side go these two for the second spot. This time through 3 and 4, Kennington should have this move done. And he's going to do it. Kennington into the second spot. That allows Robbie Gordon an even more comfortable gap for the lead off the restart.
And that is exactly why you got to be patient at this racetrack, because Jimmy Johnson went from being with a realistic chance at the victory to virtually zero chance at this point.
Kennington now to P2. 2 lap cars between him and the 13. The 10 of Yaley and his teammate, Shane Meals, number 47, who, unlike the 10 car, has had quite a lot of speed here tonight and just ended up on the wrong foot on pit strategy to fall a lap down. So would not be surprised to see this 47 try to fend off this 81 a little bit. Put some defense on him for his teammate. Kennington closing in on him, and Johnson, since losing that second position to Kennington, not really on the right foot on pace. Kennington, meanwhile, making up a little bit of time. And is not going to waste any time on the 47. Able to get underneath of him real quick. That makes quick work of him there in 1 and 2. Kennington passed Shane Meal. Now just 1 lap car between him and the leader, Robbie Gordon. Johnson able to take advantage of the 47 on the front straightaway, got underneath of him, and now he's passed as well. So I wouldn't count these two out just yet. We saw the pace of Robbie Gordon on that last run versus Biffle, but in comparison to the 81 and the 48, they were running pretty similar lap times, so I would not be surprised if Kennington is able to keep Robbie Gordon close for the lead. It's got just JJ Yaley between him and the 13 for the top spot now, as we will have 50 to go at the line next time. Actually, pardon me, we already do. Of course, Yaley a lap down, so 50 laps to go here in Calder Park. Biffle in 4th, trying to fend off Jeff Gordon and this train of race cars for the top 5 position. A lot of traffic in the midfield and nowhere for them to go. So the top 3, once again, these 3 that have just been on another level all night tonight, comfortably in the lead. Does Kennington and Johnson have anything for this 13 of Robbie Gordon as the laps start to wind down here in Calder Park?
Kennington is definitely edging closer. I don't know if that's in part of the 10 giving him draft, or if he is just very equal to Robbie Gordon. But either way, he's going to have to make quick work of this 10 car if he wants any chance to win this race.
Yeah, Yaley was pretty close to Robbie Gordon's speed for quite a while there, but finally started to drop off these last couple laps. That's allowed Kennington some draft to close in on this 10. Down the back straightaway, he had a pretty good run coming out of turn 2 here, but not quite enough to move to the inside of him for that position and clean air up to the 13. Is allowing Johnson in the 48 to close in for the second spot, maybe make another run at Kennington, who really would just like to get around this 10 here. Yaley left the bottom open coming out of turn 2, and that's going to allow Kennington to the inside. It's exactly what he needs. Only a couple laps stuck behind him. There you see in the back of frame, Jeff Gordon in the 24 got around Biffle for 4th. Ambrose on the bottom of 3 wide as Clint Boyer in the 4 getting aggressive with the lap car. Mark Martin all the way on the outside. Big battle for a lot of spots back here. Martin into the wall in front of Greg Biffle in the 16, who ends up on the wrong foot. How about this 04 of Scott Wimmer, who started in the bottom 5, if I'm not mistaken, and has found his way all the way into the top 10 here tonight.
I've been really surprised how fast this 04 car has been this year. Maybe it doesn't have the finishes to show for it sometimes, but today, what a fantastic run for Scott Wimmer.
In front of Biffle, who's been so fast today. AJ Allmendinger as well, who ended up on the back foot on that restart. Great run for him, and his teammate also running well in the top 5 now. DJ Kennington now past JJ Yaley and closing in on Robbie Gordon for the lead. Thought that 13 had such great speed on that last run, but as we mentioned, Kennington and Johnson were matching his lap times. It was Biffle in the 16 on the shortcut strategy that wasn't quite as fast as that 13 on that run, but the 81 and the 48 were, and Kennington has found some speed after that pit stop under yellow flag, and he's making it a race here for this lead. This time by for the top 2. 40 to go as Kennington up to the back bumper of Robbie Gordon for the lead here in Calder Park.
We'll see if he tries to make a move here down to the turn 1. The shallow entry makes it difficult. He's going to stay on that back bumper. 13 pulls away just a little bit and isn't going to allow DJ Kennington to make that move into 3 and 4. And Jimmy Johnson starting to get pulled into this a little closer as well. These 3, like they've been throughout the course of the day, just so much better than everybody else. They are gone.
Kennington again forced to run a shade lower there in turns 1 and 2. Not able to carry that run down the back straightaway like Robbie Gordon has been able to do with the defensive line. Johnson again closing in the 48. Kennington, the last thing he wants is to lose this runner-up spot and the catbird seat to Jimmy Johnson. Kennington is the only one of these 3 that has not led laps under green flag. This is his best chance yet on the back bumper of the 13. Still not quite able to make a move just yet. No battles for position except here for the 5th spot. Marcos Ambrose continuing his charge forward on this run, trying to make his way back into the top 5. After losing that spot a handful of laps ago, the 2 Gibbs teammates, Edwards and Harvick, behind him trying to follow through on the bottom versus the 4 of Boyer. But the battle for the lead raging on. Kennington trying to find a way to get underneath the Robbie Gordon for first. Hasn't quite been able to do it.
Just trying to be patient and take that move or take that run when you get it. But Robbie's done such a good job running that defensive run line just a quarter of a lane higher. And managing the exits of the corners to make sure that any run that Kennington gets isn't going to be enough to get past him.
Thought that might have been it there down the backstretch. Looked like that was the best run that Kennington got out of 2 since pulling up to the back bumper of the 13. But again, just not able to find that grip. And as these tires wear, it gets even harder to find that grip, and that final pit stop starts to lurk. We're about 10, maybe 15 laps away from our final green flag pit stop in this race. Another good run out of 2 by Kennington, taking a look. Still just not quite able to do it. He might need a little bit of draft help from the 48 behind if he wants to make this pass. Robbie just a little bit loose there through 3 and 4. Kennington took a look in the middle of the corner. Nothing doing just yet for the 81. Johnson has closed the gap to make it a 3-horse race for the lead. Jeff Gordon in the 24 has shown some surprising pace on this last run in the 4th position. Too far out of it to do anything without a caution or something going wrong for the top 3. Kennington a little bit further off of Robbie Gordon on the front stretch than he was the last couple of times. Trying to build that run maybe through 1 and 2. Johnson an even better run behind the 81 down the backstretch, but he's not able to make anything happen just yet. And now all three of these Chevrolets bumper to bumper at the front of the field. It's anybody's game here in Calder Park. Still, Kennington, who's looked like he's maybe had a little bit more speed, not able to make that move, and you see it's got to be so frustrating that Robbie Gordon has been able to block the inside down into turn one so many times, and Kennington is right there on his back bumper, and arguably I'd say hit 3 and 4 is where he's better than Robbie Gordon, but that's not the end of the racetrack. You want to make that overtake down the front stretch. Just has not been able to find the way past for the lead. And this is where you start to think, is the undercut the move for Kennington to maybe try and slip past him on the pit cycles? Because it has been a struggle to get around this 13 that has done such a good job of defending this lead on this run.
I mean, I think it's certainly worth a chance. I mean, you're showing you're not going to beat him by doing exactly what you're doing right now. And I think for one of these guys, it'd definitely be worth trying, although we'll see if it happens. As we look behind Jeff Gordon and Marcos Ambrose, either of those two guys might try the undercut here and try to give themselves the track position at the front of the field where they're not really being pressured from behind. One of those guys wants to try to win this race. That would be a good option. As here comes Kennington. He's going to try to make the move.
Kennington finally got the run out of turn 2, trying to take it to the inside, side by side for the lead here in Calder Park. Kennington with the nod at the stripe. Down into turn 1. He's clear. New leader DJ Kennington once again back into the lead.
And he takes Jimmy Johnson with him in that 48. Probably could not get down to block Johnson in that bottom lane, and these two going to battle side by side and give Kennington a huge advantage.
Johnson into the second position past Robbie Gordon, who ends up on the back foot. Kennington out into the lead. Johnson second, Robbie Gordon third. Jeff Gordon in the 24 is in the catbird seat if something goes wrong for these boys. Well, Robbie Gordon, a counter move down the backstretch to the inside into turn 3. Once again, side by side for the runner-up spot.
And as these two battle for second place, all they're doing is allowing this 81 of Kennington to blow by him. But Robbie Gordon did a great job down the front stretch there, getting clear.
Kennington in the lead, but not without the 13 still in his mirror. He looked the best of these three on that last run through. Closing in on our final pit stop of the race in just about 5 or so laps. We should have that final pit cycle. Jeff Gordon only about 3 seconds out of the lead in the 24. Keep mentioning him. He's going to have to make an undercut or have a caution if he wants to get in contention for this win here tonight. Johnson, a good run. Problems for Jason Leffler in the 00. And a crash down into turn number 1. Mears into the outside wall. Montoya's involved in it. Crashing down the front straightaway, and the caution comes out for the 3rd time tonight.
And that was a really hard hit for Montoya. He goes from the bottom to the top of this racetrack. That was a ridiculously hard hit for the 31. I don't know how he drove away from it.
It was Jason Leffler who just had some engine trouble down the front stretch and no lane down to the inside, looking like the engine problem kind of kicked his car to the outside of the racetrack, and Mears ran straight into him. Allgaier involved in it as well. A hard hit for Casey Mears and for that 31. Montoya didn't really get a good angle of that 28. That was a very hard slap to the outside wall, and of course Montoya in the 31 took a hard hit as well. 3rd caution of the night. Field brings it down pit road. And Robbie Gordon with damage on the right side of his race car. Or excuse me, that is Montoya getting caught up. That 13 and the 31, been used to him in that race car for so long. But nonetheless, Robbie Gordon on pit road. Kennington the same. Jimmy Johnson, 4 tires and fuel. This is the money stop for this top 3. Kennington away cleanly. And he wins the race off of pit road. Lappers on the racetrack in front of the leaders. DJ Kennington onto the racetrack in the lead. It'll be inside 20 to go when we go green. 145 of 167 here in the Cashies 600K NASCAR on ESPN. Calder Park from Melbourne. We're going to take you to intermission and be right back. You won't miss a thing. Back from intermission here at Calder Park as we get set to go green. DJ Kennington in the 81, your late leader. It'll be exactly 20 to go when the green flag drops. Robbie Gordon in the 13 is in second, Jimmy Johnson in third, Jeff Gordon fourth, and Marcos Ambrose makes it 3 Hendrick cars in the top 5 on this restart, and the whole of the top 5 is Chevrolets, and it is all GM. Back to 10th place, Greg Biffle in the 16. But as we go green, it's been the eyes on this top 3, but Jeff Gordon in the 24, don't look now. He's had some speed, had a lot of pace on that last run. Would not be surprised if he makes it a 4th challenger for the win on this restart. Pace car peels in on the left. Kennington the leader. 20 to go when we go green. Waiting for the signal, and we are underway. A good start for the 81. All of the top 3 get away well as we race into turn number 1. Good start for Robbie Gordon through 1 and 2, taking a look for the lead. Didn't quite have the speed. Here comes Jeff Gordon in the 24, just mentioned it. He's going to take it to the inside of his teammate for 3rd.
And he's got to get this move done quickly to make sure he stays in the draft of these top 2. And we'll see where Ambrose decides to go, which teammate he'll decide to help. As he's going to stay on the bottom and try to take this 4th spot.
24 should have this move done here in 3 and 4 this time. Got his teammate Ambrose behind. He's through. Johnson stuck on the outside. Jeff Gordon through into 3rd. Takes Ambrose to 4th. Do either of them have anything for the top 2? They might need these top 2 to battle a little bit, and that might very well happen. Robbie Gordon knocking on the door of DJ Kennington's lead. No move just yet by the 13.
I don't know, this 5 car, haven't talked about him a whole lot today. He's holding on with this 24. He might be within a shout of winning this race.
Could be in the conversation late. Him and Jeff Gordon are both closing in on the top 2 in a hurry. Jeff Gordon just ran his best lap of the race that last time by as he tries to run down the top 2 for the lead. Still Kennington and Robbie Gordon, but now some new faces challenging late here in Calder.
But I think it would really help these guys if Robbie Gordon's able to get a big enough run to take a stab at this lead. He does have a run this time. We'll see if he takes it.
Tried to get down to the bottom into turn 3 that time, but didn't quite have the speed for it. Jeff Gordon's 24 still closing on the top 2. Kennington, Robbie Gordon, Jeff Gordon, Ambrose, Carl Edwards in the 19 out of nowhere into the top 5. Do any of them have a chance to challenge this top 2 for the win? Beautiful 1 and 2 by Kennington to hold on versus Robbie Gordon for the lead.
It's going to be anybody. It's going to be this 24 of Jeff Gordon, who has started to pull away for the 2 cars behind him and is now in the draft for this 13 car.
Trying to close the gap. Still no move from Robbie Gordon for the lead. Has not been able to build that run to get underneath the 81. Jeff Gordon in the 24, the year 2008 champion, closing in on the top 2. It is the 3 most recent Cup champions all in the top 3. Your 2007, 6, and 8 champions, respectively, in your running order at the top of the table. Kennington a little bit high coming out of turn 4. Robbie Gordon taking a look down the front stretch. He's going to get there. Side by side for the lead between the top 2 and Jeff Gordon with a chance to try to close in.
And Kennington going to hang on that outside lane. Robbie Gordon looks like he's going to get the position, but a huge help for Jeff Gordon, who is now there.
Kennington trying to drive around the outside and stay there. Can't. Jeff Gordon closing in from 3rd. New leader, Robbie Gordon, back to the top of the table with 11 to go. Kennington just slots in front of the 24. He's got a run down the back stretch. Does he take it to the bottom? Took a look. Trying to get there. Can't quite do it. Gordon shuts the door. The 24 of Jeff Gordon still in the back bumper. Car in front. It's a lap car. Montoya with damage in front of the leaders. They're all going to end up stuck behind him. Robbie Gordon underneath. Kennington and Jeff Gordon checked up by the 31. Disaster for everybody behind Robbie Gordon as the 31 pulls away just a little bit. Contact between the Hendrick teammates. That was the 5 of Ambrose into the back of Jeff Gordon. Very nearly spun him around. That allows Kennington to pull away. Can Kennington get back to Robbie Gordon for the lead? Jeff Gordon trying to hold on in the 24. Kennington is closing. That was a great 3 and 4 by the 81, trying to run him back down. Look at the speed out of this 81, trying to get back to Robbie Gordon for the lead. He's running out of time. It's not easy to make a pass at this racetrack. Catching is one thing, passing is another. Good exit out of turn 4 by Robbie Gordon that time to pull away just a little bit. But Kennington is still closing. This time by for Robbie Gordon. 5 laps to go for the number 13, but Kennington is closing in a hurry.
Kennington's closing. I don't think Jeff Gordon's going to have enough to get back to him. Going to be between these two, 13 and 81.
2 of the most dominant cars of the race. 3 Hendrick cars in a row in the catbird seat if these top 2 get into each other. Can Kennington get there? A better exit out of turn 4 by the 81 that last time through. What an entry into turn 1 by him that time as well. Trying to close the gap. Jeff Gordon not out of it just yet in the 24. I don't think he's got enough time to make passes on both of them if they both do not make any mistakes. 3 to go. Kennington trying to close the gap. Robbie Gordon trying to make that 13 wide. Problems for the 57 who hits pit road at the end of the race. No matter. 2 to go for Robbie Gordon in the 13.
Kennington has been gaining back in. It could be too little too late. But he is up to the back bumper now.
Gotta run down the backstretch. Does he get there? Not quite. Robbie Gordon holds the lead and the bottom as they head through 3 and 4. Last time around here in Calder Park, the white flag waves. Cars are running out of fuel. The top 2 don't care. Kennington on the back bumper into 1 and 2 for the final time. This is going to have to be where it happens. Robbie Gordon down the back stretch for the final time. Kennington on the back bumper. Does he get to the inside? Gordon blocks him down to the yellow line. This time through 3 and 4, the king of Calder Park wins another. Robbie Gordon, back-to-back victories. He takes the checkered flag in Calder Park. Kennington second, Jeff Gordon third, Ambrose fourth, fifth to Jimmy Johnson, Boyer sixth. What a finish here tonight, but only one of them can be a victor, and Robbie Gordon takes home the checkered flag, his 5th win in his career in the Cup Series at this racing facility. Nobody beats Robbie at Calder.
And despite Kennington's best efforts, the king stays on his throne. I mean, what a show these Calder fans got at the end of this race. And what a run that Kennington did have at the end of that event. He maybe just needed one more lap. But an unbelievable finish as Robbie Gordon will take another win and cement himself right now as the championship favorite.
Robbie Gordon, you're a winner here tonight in Calder Park. That'll do it for coverage of the Cashies 600K. Next weekend, we head up to Japan. It'll be Twin Ring Motegi for race number 7 of the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series season. But I've been your host, Caden Rife, on behalf of Nate in the booth tonight. It's been a pleasure to have you along as always, and we'll see you next time, and have yourself a good one.